Okay, we've done our typical spray day up on the hill there with our route mission and maybe a little bit of manual plus sort of thrown in there. And that's shown you two of the ways that you can operate a drone. And we're just going to really briefly cover the third way. This is what we call a fruit tree mode. Fruit tree mode is your spot spraying, or your patch spraying would be a better definition. The drone's going to take a pre-planned three-dimensional flight path that we've already created by running a mapping drone, then processing that, and then selecting our target areas. And it's going to take that three-dimensional flight plan now, and it's just going to go out in automated flight and spray those points. This is the more involved method of creating a spray mission. We are finding more and more that as the drones improve in their technology and their automated flight capacities, that this type of mission is being less and less used because the obstacle detection and avoidance in the drone that is functioning as it flies is becoming better and better, that you don't need to do this pre-planning. But it is still the most powerful version of spraying. It gives us a lot of control about exactly where that aircraft flies to, what areas it targets, and the manner in which it does that targeting. So what we're going to run today, really briefly, is just a basic fruit tree mission or spot spraying mission. The aircraft's going to take off from the landing point, it's going to fly over and it's going to hover over pre-selected areas and then do a yaw around as it sprays that point. So this would typically be used in hard to get to terrain, like really rough terrain, maybe a lot of dead trees and that sort of thing, chasing something like blackberry patches or lantana patches, or those kind of weeds where you're going to get a patch usually bigger than a 4 to 5 meter diameter circle. Because as the drone sprays, that's about the area that it's going to spray. The beauty of this system is it's going to really incorporate that, that fluid into the canopy of the target plant, because it's hovering over there and that rotor wash is really mixing it. All right, so all I've got to do here is I've just got to select my mission. So I'm going to go up to the top left-hand corner, select fruit tree, and then here we've got the demonstration version. We're going to go to use. We can set our parameters. Everything looks good. We're going to rectify our offset, which is ground proofing that our aircraft is where we say it should be. And then we're ready to go. Clear the props. So the aircraft's going to move out to its start point, it's going to descend to its working height, and then it's spraying and doing a little twist. So I'm just looking at that now. I actually want to bring the height down a little bit, so I'll just do that. And you can see in this mode that I don't need to touch the remote control. This is all automated. So as soon as I slide to execute on that controller, that drone has everything it needs to have to complete the whole mission.
I don't own nothing new. Might look like a mess to you, but I'm solid.
So typically we wouldn't be spraying this time of mission in these conditions. Our wind speed's got up a little bit now. But the good thing about this type of mission is because the aircraft is in that hover state, it really does push the droplets down onto your target plant. So you get really good control of your spray and get it down on target. There's not much drift when you're running this scenario. Now if I want to increase my rotation a little bit, I can just drop my flow rate like I've done just now, and now the aircraft will spend a little bit more time over top of each target before it moves on to the next one. An interesting point to note is how the T100 moves between points compared to the T50. The T50 would have to turn and face the next point, but you'll note that the T100 just moves in the direction of that point, regardless of which way it's facing. Now it prefers to fly forward because that's where its obstacle avoidance and detection is. But the great thing about this type of mission is you've uploaded a three-dimensional flight path. So you've done the heavy lifting for the drone on selecting obstacles, mapping terrain, and generally creating that flight path. So it doesn't have to worry about that in depth like it does when we're running a normal route mission. So in terms of efficiency, this can be one of the most efficient spraying in rough terrain because all those obstacles, all that terrain tracking has been taken away from the drone and been pre-planned. So we're doing about 400 mils per spot in this scenario. That equates to around about, I think I got it at 180 litres per hectare. So we're at a very high water rate, but we're only doing 400 mils per spot. Now typically we'd be doing about probably a 6 metre diameter circle with these settings, or maybe up to 7, probably more like 7 with that bit of wind. We've only got about 2 or 3 more what they call fruit trees or spots to spray before we run out of fluid. .5 litres left, so we should get 3 more spots.
Been a lot of years since I've taken this road home. You're still not paid, Mom and Daddy's gone. But the gravel.
And again, all automated, no need for any input from me. It's navigating to those spots. And it will automatically go into return to home mode after this tree. And so we've done 23 plants, or 23 spots in this case. And then like in the route mission, we just fill it up, swap batteries and send it off again. Okay, that's it. That's a basic fruit tree plan. So again, highly involved in terms of the setup time. So you need to pre-map the area. You then take that pre-map, process it through Terra, then select your target areas, input obstacles and that sort of thing, which is quite an in-depth process. Sometimes takes a day to get all that set. But when you get in the field, it's quite quick because you implement it. The drone doesn't have to do all that heavy lifting in terms of terrain tracking, obstacle detection and avoidance. You've pre-inputted all that three-dimensional flight path into the system and it just goes off and follows those three-dimensional flight paths. It's important to note that you do need RTK for this. You do need a mapping drone. So the equipment requirements are higher in order to get that accuracy. But with the RTK and with the mapping drone to create those three-dimensional flight paths, we're pulling down, to centimetre accuracy on the GPS system. And the main reason that you want that RTK is because you need to get that Z-axis, the heights. That's the important thing that we need to get accurate. We can have that, while your GPS, your longitude and latitude might be out by, a metre, maybe up to 6, your height can be out by 10, 20 metres easily. Doesn't matter in a normal route mission, what we did this morning where we didn't need RTK because the drone is doing the terrain tracking for us. But in this scenario, we're relying on the GPS position. We need that RTK in order to get that stable height input. Okay, so that's our basic fruit tree flight. Like I said at the beginning there, it's a more in-depth setup process. So you need to have a mapping drone, you need to have your RTK. It might take you a day, maybe more, to process and plan that mission. But what you get is that three-dimensional flight path, which you take then into the field, and then the drone's automated through its process. And it's not relying on that terrain tracking and obstacle detection and avoidance in real time. You've pre-planned that, all of that's in the system. I quite like Fruit Tree, but we are finding that people are using it less and less.
What circumstances would people most commonly use this? You know, as you say, there's more preparation, you've got to have RTK, you've got to have image processing into a map, you've got to design the mission on a computer, which is all equates to more efficiency later when you're in the field. So what would be a common situation that someone would do this?
So difficult terrain is the main thing. And what it really comes down to is level of skill of the pilot, and then your appetite for risk, or the level of risk in that mission on the day. So for example, a really steep side of a hill with lots of trees and dead trees, and you're trying to get blackberries in and around those trees. Guys who have been operating for a couple of years, really confident in their manual flying, they might go and just do manual because it doesn't require the setup. But for those of us who perhaps aren't doing it every single day and don't have that experience, it allows us to carry through that same level of confidence and bring our risk level down. It just takes a bit more pre-planning. So I guess in short, I would say really complex terrain, lots of obstacles, and that lower skill level potentially.
Yeah, gotcha. So it's almost like a kind of autopilot for the more complex spot spraying, basically.
Yeah.
For beginner,
exactly.
intermediate pilots, yeah.
The way I like to think of it is that you're taking all that work that would be happening in flight, and you're taking your time to do it beforehand. And with all your automated flights, the more planning you do beforehand, the better you set up the mission so that the drone is effective, the more efficient you're going to be on the day. Now, that comes with experience too, and you can put pilot input and sort of add an element of efficiency due to your knowledge, but the other way to do it is to pre-plan and pre-prepare.
Yeah, gotcha. And we've mentioned the word Fruit Tree a few times. It might confuse people because DJI calls this mode Fruit Tree Spot Spraying Mode, or Fruit Tree Continuous Mode is the other one. But generally called Fruit Tree Mode. But today we're nowhere near fruit trees, but I guess it just all it means is automated, targeted spot spraying in an automated way.
So it's developed for fruit trees, for orchards and that sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's a good way to think of it. So you imagine you've got fruit trees spread throughout a paddock, or you've got a vineyard line or something like that. We're taking the elements of, okay, how does that work? Well, usually the fruit trees are in complex terrains. You've got canopies up and down, you might have terrain changes, it might be terraced hills. So if you think of it like that, and then bring that across to, we're not necessarily targeting fruit trees, we're just looking for a target plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of how I like to think about it.
Isolated targets as opposed to big swaths of targets, yeah.
Yeah, and that's another good point. When you're doing these fruit tree type functions or spot spraying type functions, you're more looking at really sort of sparse patches. So the kind of fruit tree we just did there, which is called a spot spraying function, that's going to be small clumps spread out. And if you're going to go into a more densely arranged areas of your target species, then you're going to be running a continuous spray where it will do exactly what it did for us this morning in the route mode. It'll turn off when it goes across an area where there's no target weed, turn back on when it's over the target weed. But the difference between the route mission and how that would work in a fruit tree function is that you'll have that all pre-planned, and you have that three-dimensional flight path. So if we've got an obstacle, if we've got some rocks or a change in terrain, that aircraft's already pre-planned to fly that path.
Right, yeah, and that pre-planning sort of gives the aircraft confidence to know where things are before it even starts flying.
Yeah.
Almost like a preloaded map into the aircraft.
Like what we saw here, where the aircraft wasn't turning around to go forward. Now, all its obstacle detection and avoidance on these drones pretty well is forward. Now, it does have a down facing rear radar, but it's more for your terrain tracking and emergencies. All that, complexity and all the advantages of that terrain tracking and obstacle avoidance are in front, but it doesn't need that. So it's happy to fly backwards or sideways because we've created a three-dimensional flight path. It knows where all the obstacles are and is going to avoid them.
Gotcha, yeah. And just to finish, I think it's important just to reiterate that whilst we're up on the hill doing the St John's Wort earlier today, we talked about how you can do all that work without any of those extras. So you don't need the RTK, you don't need image processing software like Terra or SmartFarm, and you don't need a mapping drone or a laptop if you're using Terra. So what we just did then with this fruit tree mode is you do need those things, because you need those things to pre-prepare the mission on the laptop, get the images from the mapping drone, use the laptop to process the images into Terra or SmartFarm, and then design your mission. So that's an important distinction, is it does take more time and more equipment to do what we just did, but it does have certain advantages in the right situations.
Yeah, I think 2 points to carry on with what you're saying is, first of all, SmartFarm is a great way to bring your high definition maps in without a lot of that complexity of Terra, which we really need to do a whole new video on. But it is a free app, it's a web cloud-based reconstruction, so you can still do that without having Terra. And the other point is that we're finding the technology in the drones now, the obstacle detection, the avoidance, the terrain tracking, are becoming so good in real time. With the addition of the lidar on the T100, we don't have to have all that pre-planning for a lot of what we used to do. So you can run it through SmartFarm, get your high definition maps. That'll allow you to get the patches that you want to spray, but you don't need that three-dimensional flight path to be brought in, because the drone's technology and its processing ability is adequate enough to do that efficiently in real time.
Got it.
The other point to note is the repeatability. So SmartFarm is good, and using that skill level like we talked about to do those complex spraying is great if you're arriving on the day and you're just going out and doing it and then you're moving on. But if you want repeatability, that's where mapping, running the RTK, using Terra really come into their own, because every time you go out, it's going to be spot on, centimetre accurate every single day of the week. So I guess repeatability is the other one to note in there.
Great point, because you're sort of front-end loading your workload in the preparation stage, but that really starts paying off, as you say, like if you do that mission, say 5 or 10 times,
yeah,
now you've got that fully automated, accurate spraying.
And think about a vineyard, or think about a fruit tree farm. That's what you want. You want to go and hit those same trees, a couple of times a year potentially, up to 10, maybe more. Or a vineyard, you want to, put your copper out every couple of months potentially. So having that repeatability is crucial in those circumstances. Whereas we could just go out and manual plus fly it, but it's going to be high input from the pilot the entire time, and it's going to be not as repeatable. It's not going to be as accurate every single day, every single time we go out and run that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for fruit tree pretty well. We can summarize that there's 3 modes of application. So you got your manual, which is the most pilot input. Within that we have straight manual, where we don't have any rate controlled. We have manual plus, which we did today, which is fully rate controlled sprayed, but pilot controlled aircraft positioning. Then we've got our route mission, which is pretty quick to set up and gives us a repeatable flight path. The drone is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there in terms of rate controlled, terrain tracking, obstacle detection and avoidance. And then the final method we've got is that fruit tree function, which we just saw. Fruit tree function is for your repeatable, highly accurate, but high process input before you get out there on the day.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, just the 3 basic methods. I would say 80% of spraying is done in route mode. Probably something like manual, you do a lot, but you do very small areas. So you might do it, every time you're out, but you might only do half a hectare just to empty out your tank or to do that little patch over there. Fruit tree, whereas it used to be used, maybe 30–40% of the time, I would say now on average 15–20% of the time people are using that.
Yeah.
So it's something that's sort of become phased out a bit more these days.
What I like about these different methods is You can sort of use it in a simple way, or you can go into depth and use it in a complex way, and it's up to you. You know, you can get a fairly bare bones fundamental spray drone kit and get so much done with it, as we did this morning up on the hill, without any of this stuff, without the RTK, mapping drone, laptop, Terra, you know, or you can use all those things to your advantage and have that sort of repeatability and get the value sort of multiplies every time you go out and repeat that mission.
Yep.
If you're prepared to do that, that additional planning and preparation with fruit tree mode.